This is an idea that sounds crazy, but can really change how you think as a hooper in a ton of ways. It may be a bit confusing at first, but bear with me here and watch to the end, and I promise you it'll really help you out. To get started, let's throw it back to an old Bruce Lee quote.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Alright, so what does this really mean, and how the hell can we be like water as hoopers? So let's break down what he really said. Water adapts to wherever it is. It takes whatever form it needs to, and as a result, it can find its way anywhere. As hoopers, this should be a huge focus of ours. Being able to adapt to any situation, no matter what happens. So in this video, I'll break down a bunch of different ways where you may have to take different forms, but will make you a far more valuable player. First off is being able to adapt to individual matchups. Even if you're a 6'1" guard, sometimes you'll be guarded by bigger players, sometimes smaller players. Each of these will provide a different challenge. With bigger players on you, maybe about using more quickness, potentially taking a wider angle around them to use more speed, and being more careful with pace around the rim. For smaller defenders, ball protection becomes even more important, so maybe you're looking to protect the ball more than anything, as well as taking tighter angles to seal them off, and potentially even shooting over them. So you got to be able to adjust to each of these. Then defensively, it's the same thing. If you're guarding a bigger player, it's often about beating them to the spot to prevent them from using their size on you, and even taking a charge if you get there early enough, as well as baiting them into using their strength to get them off balance and leading them into your help defense. Against smaller guards, it's more about containing them and forcing them into bad shots, as well as getting around ball screens super fast and physically while using your physicality against them. Knowing how to do both, once again, is huge, and if you're a non-adaptable player, you're going to look to play the same defensive style on everyone. How can you improve on this, both offensively and defensively? It's simple but not easy. Just playing against a ton of different types of players and thinking critically about how their differences will adjust your playing style. And then studying other players and how they adapt to different matchups. It's actually a pretty fun process. Next up is your environment. For players on a super high level, this may be a bit less relevant because the facilities are always taken care of, well lit, and don't change that much. But for the vast majority of players, you want to still be able to play well on a slippery floor, maybe in a super hot or cold gym or court. In a gym where the three-point line is a bit long or short. And shit, even for higher level players, some gyms are super bright, maybe they have different depth perception, the crowd can be crazy and completely change the energy and the environment. So are you gonna say, oh, it's different from how I train? Or are you gonna adapt to whatever you play in and kill it? 2 nights ago, I was at the Belgrade Derby where this is the scene, and guys still have to play their best with a smoky arena, 20,000 people screaming, stuff getting thrown on the court, with no excuses. That takes being adaptable, or being like water, you could say. The key to developing this, train in a number of environments and embrace it. Have the mindset that no matter what gets thrown at you, you're gonna conquer it. Double rims, outdoors, low light. Don't feel like you have to train in perfect conditions, because that's how you become fixed to one playing condition, which is not good.
Ooh, okay, I like the break.
Next up is your movement being like water, meaning no matter what the game throws at you, you're able to figure it out and still be fluid and controlled. Here are a few examples under the microscope. So right here, my guy Owen's trying to get his leg out in front to seal his defender off, but it ends up hitting his hip here. But he's adaptable enough to plant, even with some weird momentum, and use it to jump in the opposite direction. Then next time, he does get himself in front, doesn't really expect it, so he's leaning a bit, it's off balance, but saves himself with a big stride and gets balance for the jump. Or here, watch these 2 super short strides, as well as how he rotates to adjust to the defense quickly stepping in, and even getting slightly knocked off balance, but being able to right away regain control and explode back out forwards. How do you train this? Again, this comes down to a lot of live, which will inherently force you to adapt, so including more small-sided games and live training in your workout sessions, but also implementing imperfection in your training alone. You're not always making the perfect move, shooting the perfect shot, but starting to visualize some of this imperfection. And as you can see, this applies to skill with the ball too, where maybe you'll have to adjust to shoot this on the way down and like a jumper. As a big, can you pick up the ball from the ground and quickly make the finish? Maybe something like this, where Rob loses momentum into his shot a bit, but is able to recreate it and make the shot while floating forward. Can you be adaptable on your jumpers like TJ Shorts is, as he's rotating, fading, and adjusting his release timing on all of these, all with different footworks? This happens a lot more than you think, as almost every play includes some sort of imperfection and has a different form that you'll have to adapt to. Then you have quick tactical adaptability. In other words, the reads you make based on how the defense plays a certain action. Like rather than catching it here on the short roll and dribbling it right into two guards who have closed in, he reads this and quickly makes a decision to turn back around and get back into a handoff for an easy tray ball. Or this, where Paris basketball most times go into a handoff from the wing to the corner on a kick to the two side here. And this works quite often. But maybe this swing is open right away, so you'll adapt to make that one more pass. Or if a team knows this and scouts it, you can stampede the catch and go right away when they'd usually expect a handoff. Next up, let's talk adapting your style of play. We experience this all the time when we have international players come to train with us in Miami over the summers, and even play AAU basketball with us at Adapt Academy. For the first week or so, there are definitely a few things that they just naturally struggle a bit to adapt to. The physicality, the up and down speed of the game, the individual mindset. But after a bit, they become completely different players because now they've gotten accustomed to a new style of basketball. And the ones who keep enough of their game to still have an advantage, but also learn how to fit into the American game, are the ones who do best. On the flip side, American players usually struggle a bit at first to adapt to our system, which revolves around playing as a collective, making quick decisions, setting up your teammates, and shooting smarter shots. So I think you can see why we called our club Adapt Academy. This goes for every level. If you transfer from a public to a private school or vice versa, it may be a vastly different style of play that you'll have to adapt to. If you go from a college to playing in Europe, you're gonna have to learn and apply a ton of new concepts and completely shift your mindset to maybe not being the primary scorer, playing more within a system, doing things that you may have not done much of before. On the other hand, if you're an import playing in a market like South America or Asia, you probably will be expected to go out and average 40 against physical defense, and Lord knows that requires adaptation as well. Then on a more individual level, we have being able to fluidly change your play style based on defensive game plan. If the defense is heavy denying and face guarding you, can you find ways to still get open or use that gravity to create for your teammates? If they start going under every ball screen on you and it's annoying as hell, are you also equipped to be creative with angles and combat this, even if you're not looking to shoot? If a team goes to zone, can you spot up and knock down catch and shoots? If it's a team that's more heavy in the gaps like this, can you adjust the timing of your passes to be a bit earlier and create easy assists rather than forcing your way to the rim? And if Wemby is down in the paint, can you adjust and not shoot shots around the rim that you'd normally shoot, but rather use that attention to create for your team? This can make or break you as a player. And then sometimes you'll have role changes, right? Just the nature of basketball. Some games you'll be a primary player, other games you'll take a back seat from a scoring standpoint and just do the dirty work. This isn't an easy thing to adjust to or accept mentally, but it's necessary to know when your windows of time are to shine. And then sometimes you'll have to be different pieces within the offense. At times you'll be more of a spot-up shooter, then your lead guard goes out with foul trouble, and now you're asked to initiate the offense with ball screens. Maybe you make a few shots, get a bit longer of a leash with some momentum, and now you have the freedom to go off the bounce a bit more. Or you miss a few shots and you have to shift your focus to getting easy ones, maybe in transition, cutting, getting to the rim, getting to the free throw line, which is something we'll discuss a bit.
Everyone's been on a team where you feel like you could have a bigger role or a different role according to your play style. And I think sometimes it is accepting that you're gonna have to do different things for every team. So if I put any NBA player on the Warriors, the Knicks, the Mavericks, an NBL team, a team in China, those roles are going to be different every single time. And that player has the same play style. A lot of the time you literally just have to do things to fit in a team role. Understand that that's not you as a player, but sometimes that's just how, all the time, that's how it works as a player. Once you understand that, it kind of empowers you to find that role within that each team.
Even season to season, your role will change. You'll have different team dynamics. And to show this, we'll pick out these two guys, Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn on Purdue, for example, who last year made the national championship, but with smaller roles because of a very Zach Edey heavy offense. This year, they both stepped into even bigger scoring roles, especially Trey, who's tripled his points per game. And instead of getting down on himself last year, he did what he could with his opportunities, took care of business, and has now been killing with a bigger role. Pretty much has gone from being in no ball screens to now setting most of them and scoring more effectively off of them than 93% of college players. That's big time. So if you're able to adapt to your role no matter what happens, it'll give you a much higher chance of success. Next is adapting to tough circumstances. Maybe the refs are calling it tight that game. Can you be like water, fit the form of this game, and play safer defense to avoid foul trouble? Or will you just complain about it? Again, if your shots aren't falling that game, you need to realize that most times you can't actually control that other than keeping your mindset positive. So you'll have to find a way to transform your play style a bit to make an impact in other ways. It's not only okay to do, it actually makes some of the best. Maybe you even get injured during the game or you're coming back from an injury, but you're not yet 100%, and you have to get creative here at times. Find ways to play slower, to not cut as much off your sprained left ankle, maybe to get to the rim and finish more if your wrist is messed up and you can't shoot very well. That is being like water. Or shit, maybe you're just getting old and can't move like you were before. D Rose is a great example here. He's somebody who said, you know what, I'm not gonna give up and I'm not gonna act like I'm as athletic as I was. I'm just gonna adapt my game to my current situation and make it work. And he had a hell of a career considering the luck he had. So hopefully all of these are painting the picture for you that as hoopers, we can have the one-track mindset of, I'm gonna play my game, I need everything to be perfect, in routine, in my realm of comfort, and if it's not, I don't play well. Or you can be like water, embrace being adaptable to any situation and make it work, which is something I'd encourage every single one of y'all to do. So from now on, go develop elite figure it out ability, train to be like water, and your game will change forever, I promise you.